Welcome to Tokyosaurus. So what's up in Japan? Well, I didn't come across this on a Japanese source, but actually from Game Informer's latest slew of interviews they've been doing with Game Freak, who are the makers of all the main Pokemon games. So, in one of the section of their humongous interview, they were talking about Game Freak's involvement in the creation of the anime that started airing way back in 1997 in Japan and 1998 in North America. And it turns out the decision to make Pokemon say their own names wasn't actually their call. It was originally suggested by OLM Inc., who was the studio behind all the Pokemon anime and movies, as well as many other popular kids anime like Yokai Watch, some of the newer Beyblade, and more. While producing the anime, Pikachu was starting to catch on as a favorite in the gaming community without any sort of branding to help it out, and if you ever saw the covers of the original red and green versions, there's not a single Pikachu on it, while by the time blue and red version made it to North America, Pikachu was on the back cover as they've already chosen Pikachu as Ash's partner in the anime. So, what happened? During the production of the anime, they had Pikachu's voice actor do many takes of her saying Pikachu in various cute ways. Game Freak said they weren't so sure it was a good idea to make Pokemon say their own names as a means of communication, but they're happy it worked out fine. Having Pikachu being the face of the brand and the anime was also a decision made by OLM and not Game Freak. And it was because Pikachu was really popular amongst kids at school to talk about, since Pikachu was a hard-to-find Pokemon. OLM is also credited with the creation of Jessie and James and many other anime characters, so we also have them to thanks for that. What's interesting is that in the games they only had shrieks and screams, and even now it remains to be shrieks and screams rather than Pokemon saying their own name, with the exception of, I believe, Pikachu. I guess Game Freak is still not completely sold on the idea of Pokemon being able to pronounce specific syllables that would form a word and not any other syllables. But I guess as an anime that was made for a younger demographic, what other way can you have your audience learn all the names of these Pokemon without having them repeat their own names over and over again? In an earlier interview, game producer Junichi Masuda actually said when we first started, we were really restricted by the hardware, but nowadays, that's not the case. For example, in the games, we have Pikachu saying its own name just like it does in the anime, but what we do with our games is really consider what the purpose of the Pokemon's cry is. We consider what type of creature it is, its habitat, how it lives. All these kinds of things help to decide what style of cry it might have, based on all of that information. We also have slightly different cries for the same Pokemon, so when you stroke a Pokemon for example, it might have a different tone to its cry because it's feeling happy. When we're designing the main games, exactly what kind of cry we want the Pokemon to have is something we really consider. So what I think he means to say is, Pokemon weren't actually meant to say their own names, but have cries and shrieks instead like real animals or monsters. But in the anime, it's reversed because Pokemon are named after what they say. So somewhere, sometime, a long time ago, the first ever of its kind had the privilege to name their species whatever the heck they wanted to. And one of them decided to go with Bidoof. And somewhere, sometime, a long time ago, the first ever Charizard was just like, I'm just gonna stick with the ways of Game Freak, and decides to not use his name like everyone else. The reason for some of these Pokemon not using their own names is unknown and probably will forever remain that way, till we get another hardcore interview with Game Freak or even OLM. But for now, at least we have one question answered. Anyways, which one do you prefer? Pokemon that say their own names like the way they did in the anime? Or Pokemon that uses cries and shrieks like in the game or like real animals? As usual, let me know down in the comments below. Thumbs up the video if you liked it, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications for Tokyosaurus for the latest things people are talking about in Japan. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.